Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to listen to our little bit of Hebrew as found in Daniel chapter 10. And we're picking up on verse 18. You can see on your screen, reading from the JPS version of Daniel. And again, we're looking at some interesting words here that Daniel is using to describe what is obviously a very intense and complex vision that he is involved in. And so verse 18 says, "And there touched me again one like the appearance of a man, and he strengthened me." Looking at what the sages have to say, they just pick up on the one word strengthened, but do add some unpacking that this is an encouragement, not physically, but spiritually, and then referencing the next verse. Let's go to Bible Hub and take a look at this. And the Hebrew says, Vayosef ya vayiga B, Kamar A, Adam. So someone having this likeness of a man, and it uses the word Adam, Vachazekni, strengthened me. So why does Daniel um, go to such lengths to describe the people, the men that he's encountering? And especially here, he uses the word Adam, which is, again, thought to be more of a earthly representation. And last week we talked a little bit, or last time we talked a little bit about the different words in Hebrew that are translated into English as man. And one of our faithful listeners, corresponded with me and shared about this unpacking and these different words, and they shared with me the words, and so I wanted to just bring them up for all of you to see because there are a number of them. So we have the word Ish, and we have the word Adam, we have the word Enosh, Gever, Zakar, and also Baal are all words that are in Hebrew. And when they are translated into English, the translators will typically translate them as man or male, but they all have different meanings to them. And I thought this did a nice job of bringing this out and putting them all together. We talked about the word for ish. And again, these translations into English and even an understanding in Hebrew really needs to come from the context of how it's being used. Hebrew is a relational language. It fits more into poetry than it does, say, a scientific or medical or engineering type of relating facts and keeping your mind focused in one area. And once you see one thing, it's always the same every time you see the word. Hebrew is not that way. Hebrew, in its core of biblical or classical Hebrew, has about 7,500 words. And so all of the words can have multiple meanings. In fact, there is a book written called The 70 Facets of Hebrew. And according to Jewish folklore, every Hebrew word can have 70 different meanings to it. And they liken it to a gemstone that's cut and polished and has the different facets on it in relating to a gemstone. And that no matter how you turn it and look at it, you're seeing this gemstone in a different light. And so they feel each Hebrew word can have up to 70 different facets or 70 different meanings. And for us Midwesterners and those in the Western culture, this can be very, very frustrating because we want everything to fit in tight little compartments. We want the boxes all to line up. We want to put our things in the boxes and have a commonality and everything to fit and add up to nice formulas. And Hebrew is not that way. And the Bible is not that way because it's about a relationship. It is basically a love letter of God to man. And in that love letter, you're going to have feelings and you're going to have emotions and you're going to have moods and character swings and times when a person reacts one way, and even when God reacts one way, and then other times when he'll react another way. And some of the Jewish sages really talk about this much more openly than what maybe the Christian um, commentators and Christian theologians will talk about. And one Jewish sage that I made an impression upon me, saying that think of it of a husband and a wife in a kitchen um, having a spat and having a disagreement, and there are pots and pans flying around and dishes being thrown back and forth, and the dishes fall and the plates break, and then there's a reunion and a reacquaintance and a recommitment afterwards. And at least in a Jewish mindset, Hebrew mindset, said, that be your thought when you're going through the Bible and when you're reading about relationships that go in, that there is the passion, there is the anger, there is the emotions. And remember that all those emotions that we have as men and as women, all of them come from God. So why would we not expect to see all those emotions in play in many of the interactions that appear in the Bible between God and his creation? If we can have them, we got them from God, he has them. But yet, at least in Christianity, we're not really in tune with the emotion side of it. Sometimes we're taught that emotions are not good. Men shouldn't cry. All these things that in Midwestern culture um, are, we learn in the culture that we're in, and we're taught these things. But again, trying to unravel that and rewind that and strip those types of thoughts away from us and look back to the biblical culture and the relationship that Israel had and the Jewish people had with God, and try to put ourselves back in that time frame. And has been my challenge, and I hope I can share some of that and relay some of that to you. So I think that's what Daniel is saying here. He talks about this Adam, and my understanding of it is he's trying to say, this looked just like a regular guy. He has the appearance of an Adam. Here I am in this realm of revelation, in this realm of this dream or this vision I'm in, and here's somebody standing with me that looks just like a normal guy on the street, just the appearance of a normal guy. And so this caught Daniel unaware, because some of the other beings that he encountered did not look like just normal people. And so there is, all of these words that Daniel had to choose, and he chose Adam here for this being that he met. But yet, here was a touch, a gia. And so, if we look at this word, comes from naga, and it means to touch. But yet, there's a lot of different types of touch, as we know. When we meet people, there are touching that's appropriate. There's touching that is not appropriate. There's touching that brings you closer to a person. There can be touching that can be very uh, put offish, can put you off. And so, what kind of touch was this? Um, and again, many different ways this could be interpreted, because what is the context? And you look through the Bible and you will find the extreme realm. This can be a proper touch. This can be an extreme interaction of intercourse. This can be a type of punishment, can be a type of acquiring, can be violent type of touch. All are comprised in this word naga. So let's go further. But with this touch, um, he was strengthened. And so this word is chazak, which is a very common word in Hebrew. It's often used in the Hebrew language between people as they are going through something that's um, maybe a little detrimental in their life. They're struggling with hard times. They will come up to one another and they will chazak, chazak. be strong, my brother, my sister. And so this word hazak is being used here, but as we determined from the Jewish sages, it can mean two different things. Is this a physical strengthening, or is this an emotional strengthening, or is it a spiritual strengthening? What level is this strengthening occurring? Um, Thinking back to the setting, Daniel is obviously in a very emotional state. All of his senses are being addressed with, I believe, the sounds and the vision that he has. It doesn't say that there's any aromas that are going on, but I wouldn't doubt at all that every one of Daniel's emotions and every one of his senses were being addressed here because he's encountering a spiritual realm. There are probably even parts of the spiritual realm that cannot even be addressed by our five senses. That there are things that are sensed internally. And we only get small little touches and glimpses of what that spiritual realm could be. But here, Daniel's in the middle of it, using the very limited vocabulary he has, trying to describe what's going on. But obviously, we saw previously that this knocked the wind out of his sails, it knocked him down. He was picked back up again, and now he's receiving strength. So let's go back to the JPS and take it from here, because this next part is just really, really beautiful. And this, as he is strengthened, this man says to him, "O man greatly beloved, fear not, peace be unto you. Be strong, be strong. Chazak, chazak." We're going to find out. And when he had spoken to me, then I was strengthened. And the purpose of being strengthened was kind of interesting here. He wanted to talk, and he felt that previously he couldn't even speak because the encounter was so overwhelming that it took his breath away, is a term we might have to use to describe it. And his breath was taken away, and he wanted to talk, he wanted to interact. So this fear was not so much that he was just wanting to run away and get out of the situation, but he wanted to be let in. He wanted to participate. And so he's saying, let me speak. Now that you strengthened me, I got things to say. So let's look at what the sages have to say. Talks about being greatly beloved. This is probably one of the best things any person could ever hear come from a spiritual realm, coming from the presence of God, is that you were greatly beloved. That would drive away all fear. That would take away all uncertainty, because we are on this side of a spiritual realm, and it's important to us to know, are we measuring up? Are we pleasing God? We're very performance driven in our culture, and it's sometimes falls upon us that we want to know if we're doing all the right things. Am I living away such a way that I'm going to hear God say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant"? That's a very common realm of preaching, and sometimes preachers will do that. They say things to corral us and to correct us and to get us, you know, headed in the right direction again. Um, it's just that I believe there has to be a balance, and finding that balance between knowing that you are loved and cherished, and knowing and believing that God is in our life and he's never going to leave us or never forsake us, but also balancing that with, I'm not going to walk away from him, and I'm not going to do anything that will cause me to walk away, and heading down that direction. Trying to find that balance to the where we don't live in fear of being separated, but yet that we don't take things the wrong way. So this is very interesting here to have Daniel hear this, and this would be my greatest desire, is to have this come audibly in some way, to hear that as maybe it would mean a lot to you too. And then, of course, the being says, "Peace unto you." be strong, or be of good courage. So let's go back to the Bible Hub, and it says, Vayomer al Tirah, do not fear. And it's the normal word for fear. And then it says, Ish Hamudot, Hamudot. So man greatly beloved. So here he's using the word Ish. Remember, this is contrasted with Adam. And so the word Ish, as we go back to our little overview here, says it's a common word, can refer to a husband. And husband in this case can be one, or is normally one, who is very loving and very accommodating, versus what you see here on this last entry of a Baal, which means master or lord, but also means husband. And this would be a husband that is overlording, is not compassionate, is not loving, is not embracing God's love in loving his wife the way he should be, but he's domineering and lording over her. And so interesting that there are two very distinct words. And you may have known or heard the word Baal, comes from this word Baal. It's actually, this is Baal is the correct Hebrew pronunciation. It means master and Lord, and often described to a deity that puts people in extreme servitude and oppresses them, as the gods of the Canaanites would be. They're called Baal or Baal because they were so oppressive to those that followed them. So a little bit of Hebrew study here, but here Daniel is being called an Ish, which is a somewhat of a more gentle, compassionate, genteel, gentleman would probably be a better word, creating a feeling of great love and respect. And of course, that fits the context here very much so. And then we unpack the word used for greatly beloved, which is hamad, and it encompasses many different things that he's being delighted in. It encompasses beauty and something that you would desire to be with. Of course, the extreme takes it to the lustful side of it, but it also encompasses just that desire to be with someone. If you've ever met a person that has just the nicest personality and they're a joy to be around, and you wish, they could be your friend and you could be with them at all times. This word Hamad fits into that. And so Daniel here is being told by God, essentially, that he was a gentleman, someone dear to him who was greatly beloved. And then uses the word shalom to you. The word shalom here, peace is just one small meaning of this word. It actually comes from the word to be complete, and to have just a wholeness to yourself. Because in reality, while it can mean peace, looking at the cause of peace, peace is truly meaningful when you are at rest, when everything is taken care of in your life, when your needs are met, when you are whole, when you are complete, and you have no unmet needs, there are no deficiencies. Here it says that it's completeness and soundness. Your welfare is being taken care of. Then peace can come. So it's really the root word. And so Daniel is being told here that may you be whole, may you be completely satisfied, because you are loved, you are cherished, you are in the will of God. You shouldn't have any issues, because all of your basic needs and main needs are being taken care of. And then it uses the word chazak, chazak, be strong, be strong. And then what's interesting here, it says that when Daniel heard these words, he was strengthened. And the word here being referenced to is devar, which are many times thought to be words from the heart. They're not frivolous words. they're words that come from a deep love, a deep meaning. There's a lot of emotion behind them. And in fact, the verb tense used here is a PL, which is a very intense verb form. And so what Daniel is hearing are these words that are having an immediate impact in strengthening him. And many of us may have encountered those kind of things where we've heard someone who maybe we haven't had a good relationship with, or we're unsure about the relationship, and that person will say something to us that dispels the uncertainty and brings us to a place where everything's right again. You know, we feel loved, we feel that they love us, we love them. There's no ought between us anymore, and the relationship is completely set aright, and we are just emboldened, we are strengthened, the endorphins flow through us, and we're happy, and we're on cloud nine because we feel this love relationship is exactly where it should be. And so Daniel is referencing that. And when I heard these words, um, I'm just euphoric. I'm lifted. I'm strengthened, and I want to talk. I want to share in this. And so Daniel is saying, Omer Ra, and he said, but then he uses the word davar. And so it's the same type of words that he heard. He now wants to speak back. And he's speaking, let me say these words, Adonai, which is, here's the word from my Lord. He hazakatni, hazaktani, you have strengthened me. So you can just picture and feel that Daniel is euphoric in this spot that he's in. He's being lifted up by what he has heard. Everything that was maybe questionable previously in this vision is now all set aright, and everything is positive and as good as Daniel could ever imagine it being. So with that, we're going to stop this study today. We thank you for so much for listening. Thank you for hitting the like button on the YouTube video and sharing it with others. Please feel free to do that. And I'm just so thankful that it's been a blessing in your life. So God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day. And we will join you again next week. Bye-bye.